Hello everyone and welcome to Thursday Live Lesson. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, joined by these two fine gentlemen, Mr. Aaron the Voice Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron?
What's up?
And Mr. Kahai the Legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai?
What's up?
And we're back. So last week, you guys have a Aaron and Kahai show? I missed it. I was sleeping. Let's just say I was asleep.
It was the best show ever. It's too bad that the footage got corrupted, right? I was like, oh, you guys missed out on something so good.
Oh man, I'm sorry I missed it.
Aaron and Kahai sleepover slumber party.
Yeah. It's like, the chef kiss, like, yeah, it was just like, so good.
Well, that's good. I'm jealous. Right on, guys. Welcome to Thursday Live Lesson, and in this show we answer any and all of your questions about the ukulele or about ukulele on the ground or just anything in general. We try to help out as best as we can. Kahai reads the question to me. I try to answer it as best as I can, and these two dudes will pop in with their 2 cents, and we come up with the best answer possible just for you, whatever we can come up with. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Like last time, I have to make this correction right now because I was kind of put in a spot and I blanked out, and someone asked about what's the difference between a 9th chord and an Add9 chord.
Oh,
I tell you, a 9th chord is 1 3 5 7 with the 9, and an Add9 chord is just a regular 1 3 5 with the 9.
Oh, okay.
So that's it's the 7. It's the 7 that that makes it different. Now, with that said, so we're not saying we know everything.
Redacted.
Redacted. Yeah. See, we're not too proud to say that we miss some stuff or we make mistakes here and there, because we made a mistake last week, and immediately I'm like, because I think that night I looked it up because I'm like, I don't think I said that right.
Oh.
As soon as the episode was over that night, I'm like, I don't think that's right. I'm gonna have to look it up, and I looked it up. I'm like, yeah, I was wrong. And that wasn't super wrong, it wasn't off or whatever, but it is
formal apology.
Formal apology. I'm sorry. I've learned from this. I think because of this experience, I've come out a better, more understanding person. I'm now working on myself, and I've been doing I've been meditating 3 times a day. I've upped my Krav Maga and I've really learned learned a thing or two about myself.
Can you make a really sad face, and I'll take that as the thumbnail for this podcast, and I'll be like, guys, I have to tell you, what is it like? I have to admit something or something.
That's a clickbait title.
Here's my apology.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Dot.
Public apology, in parentheses. I'm sorry. ... Public apology.
Can you look down and look like you're sad? Oh.
Yeah. Let's take that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
I expect to see memes. All right, so with that out of the way, now I feel good about that. I've been holding that in for 2 weeks, guys.
It's a weight off your chest.
It is kind of. I'm not even joking. I know we had our laughs, but this one I'm actually super glad to get it off my chest. 1 3 5 7 9 9th chord. Add9 is just whatever chord you want to do, and you add the 9 to it.
It doesn't even really matter for ukulele then.
I guess it does, but if you're getting really technical,
because we only have 4 strings on ukulele.
Yeah,
so you can't really.
You could do 3 5 7 9.
Doesn't really.
Yeah, you gotta omit one of those.
Yeah.
So I guess technically you can omit the 7. Just
it is, and then they're exactly the same, right?
No, I think you need that voicing. All right, so let's get started with the show. Now that I've issued my formal public apology, let's move on. Kahai, give me the first question.
Well, it wasn't a question, but a couple weeks ago when we had the live lesson, Rob asked if he could show off the Reggae Strum again.
Okay, so the Reggae Strum, basically what we're doing is we're trying to accent beats 2 and 4. So you can actually strum 1 2 3 4 down up, as basic as you want to. Is, for example, the C chord. I'm going to use my pointer finger, and you'll see why. So 1 2 3 4. I'm just doing down up, nice and simple. So when we accent the 2 and 4, what we're doing is we're just kind of strumming louder on 2 and 4. So 1 2 3 4. gonna be that high. Because every little thing is gonna be alright. Totally fine. But with the reggae, it's really the shorter the strum is, the better the reggae feel. Okay, so just think about it. It's short. Okay, you want to accent those two beats, but you want it to be as short as possible. If possible, you only really want to hear the 2 and 4. So that's why I chose my pointer finger to play the C, because the rest of my fingers can mute the strings so that you only hear 2 and 4. So I'm doing the same, down up, but then just kind of strumming louder on 2 and 4. But then I'm gonna place my fingers over, and I'm gonna lift up on my fingers on that 2 and 4, and I'm going to kind of sync the 2 together. So like this, I'll do it slow first, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'll do it super duper extra slow, so you can see the two hands kind of syncing. And 1 and 2. So as I went down on beat 2, my left hand goes up, then back down again, and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2. And you want to drag it a little bit. You want there to be a pretty heavy swing, to that strum. So 1 and 2, because reggae very laid back. So swing as much as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to get fancy with it, cut it short as much as possible, as short as possible. So instead of like doing this big movement of like letting go and then putting it back on, you can cut it as short as possible. Don't worry about a thing. So cutting it short on the down allows you to actually do the up as well, but nice and short. Okay, so you can do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that. So on the down on 2 and 4, so 2 and I'm lifting this up and putting it right back down. So it sounds like this. 1. And I'll break this down. So it goes. So here it is. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now let's mute. 2 and 3 and 4. So you can hear the 2 and 4 louder. But I'm gonna lift up just on the downbeat of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's cut it short. And then let's add up. And if you really want to get into reggae, I suggest using that strum that Jake taught us in one of the uke minutes videos, where you're kind of taking your thumb and your pointer finger as if you're handing over a business card, because it's a lot brighter. So you want there to be kind of like nail hits. So down strum with the pointer fingernail, up strum with the thumbnail. See how much like brighter that sounds? And if you watched last month's video, which is Get Up, Stand Up, if you're looking at Oloman's hand and how he's strumming his guitar, he's really only strumming the bottom 3 strings and not too much of like the whole chord. So the brighter, the more higher notes, the better it is for what they call in reggae the skank, which is it'll sound something like this. So really, I'm just strumming the bottom 2 strings. You can add the C in there if you want to, but the brighter, the higher the note sounding, the better. So don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. See how much brighter and how much more a lot of people are making fun of the word skankier, like the tone is, but that's really what what reggae people use. It's a skank, like easy skanking is one of the reggae songs that you can listen to. That's really what it is. That skank.
It's like
like that you hear. That's what they refer to as a skank. Okay, not the other word. It's this, so that's the skank of the and if we want to go, so I'll show you guys the different levels of reggae strumming. If you really want a bright and really good skank, add the rest of your fingers. So my pinky, middle, and ring finger are going to be added to the added to the strum, and they have like pretty relatively long nails. So those nails are going to give me an even brighter sound. So on 2 and 4, I'm strumming down on these 4 fingers, and I can add my thumb to it if I want to, just like how I did with the Jake strum. So it'll sound something like this. Nice, bright, and very short. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to keep in mind if you want to play reggae. If you really want to get that skank down, it's bright and short. So it's really, that's like what you hear the most, because that's what like really bright, high pitched sounds. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good reggae.
And I mean, right after Rob, like we weren't able to get to Rob's question, but then we released that lesson for Get Up, Stand Up right after that. So like he can go back and watch that, because basically it's only one chord. So basically you're just practicing the reggae strum the whole time without worrying about chord changes or anything.
Get up, stand up. Is it B minor or C minor? So yeah, I thought so. We had this debate because on one version of that song, Bob Marley plays it in B minor, and another version plays it in C minor, or B minor 7, C minor 7, whatever you want, if you want to be technical about it.
Yeah. But so what is the live version? Is B minor?
I believe the live version is in C minor. I think the recorded version is in B minor. So it was a little bit lower so you could sing it. I don't know what the reasoning is. But then we listened
They
to
just had their instruments tuned to whatever on that day, the live day.
Yeah. Because it was in the Wailers album. What was it called? What was the Wailers album?
Oh, Burnin'.
Burnin'. So it was on the Burnin' album, it's B minor 7. And then I was corresponding with Oloman, and I was like, oh, so what key do you play it in? I asked him what key, and he's like, oh, C minor. He's like, oh, okay. Oh, no, I said B minor or C minor. He's like, oh, C minor. I'm like, okay, because the original was in B minor. And I don't know, how dare I tell him that it's like in a different key.
He's a much bigger Bob Marley fan
than I am. Just,
enthusiast.
Being to Bob Marley is like him to Jake Shimabukuro. It's kind of like that, And he's a huge Bob Marley fan. And every time he performs, he always does, according to him, he always does all the Marley song covers that he does in the original key. And he does it in C minor. So pretty cool. So fun fact, but really cool dude. Now we can talk about it. He's somebody I grew up with. Went to high school together, and me and my friend Kaniho, who you guys have seen as the bass player for a bunch of our videos, the guy with the face tattoos. Me and Kaniho basically wanted to be Ola and Kana. So Nakana is Ola's bass player. So, but Ola in high school, he played ukulele, and I remember one of my first interactions with Ola, like my friend Wayne introduced me to him, and he's like, oh, check this out, Aldrine. He can play Stars and Stripes in any key that you want. And I'm like, what? That sounds amazing. So, and then, like Ola would show me Stars and Stripes and like F and G and C. I was like, that is so cool. Like, I can't believe it. I don't know if it was every key, but he just needed to show me 3 different ones. And I was convinced that he could do it in any key, But it was really cool. So, and he was a senior while I was a freshman in high school, and they played at all the assemblies, and me and Kaniho were like, they're gonna graduate, they're gonna need somebody to fill in that space, fill in that spot.
Next,
we'll be the next Ola and Kana. We're gonna be so cool, and no, we were never as cool as
as either of them.
They're like, Ola is part of like, I guess Kana is like, they're part of the biggest reggae band on our island, which is they're called Revival. And those two dudes with Evan as their drummer is like the original 3 members of Revival. And Revival's gone through many, many, many changes, but those 3 original dudes are the guys, like the fathers of Revival. And I don't hold a candle to to live reggae music as Ola does. I mean, maybe with my own ukulele stuff, maybe, but he's just so good. Like, Ola is such a great musician. If you guys are ever on Kauai and Ola is playing somewhere on the island, it's really a treat to go see him play. He's amazing. So shout out to Oloman.
I think getting back to like Rob too, I think Rob is like the type of person I think who wants like to really understand how things work before he like dives in and tries it for himself, right? But Reggae Strum is like one of those things where you just gotta try it.
That's a feel.
Yeah, and it's something you learn as you do it. It's not something that you can like read first and then be like, oh, I know all the mechanics and I can feel. Like, you gotta feel, whoa. Like when you're saying skanking, is like really, that just means like the groove of the song.
Because the skank also refers to the dance that you do. So it really is like a movement kind of based thing. Yeah.
It's a feel, it's the groove, it's the movement, it's a dance.
Yeah, I think Adam Neely talked about this, like where in Western music, a lot of people, they get the idea that I can learn all this theory and I can apply it to playing and then I'll be good. But it's different for every culture. And in African music, like dancing is so ingrained in their music itself that he said that if they taught like African music instead of this like Western European centric like style of music theory, you probably would have to take like dance classes instead of music theory classes, right?
To just get the groove.
And
in order to play it correctly,
to understand what this music means and what it feels like, right? So I think like even you don't have to dance to reggae, but like really try to feel it in your body, because that's like, I mean, if you think about reggae music, they were making this music for dance halls, right? In like Jamaica, and they're playing this music for dance halls in Jamaica. So try and think about it like that, and really like feel it in your gut, feel it in your body. Try and get that.
With every musical genre, I feel like they have their own groove, like swing and jazz. I mean, that's swing. Like that's like a whole groove by itself. Like it's now like accepted in music as like as a feel, like it's a word, swing. There's a swing to it, but back then, like, it's really straightforward notes. When composers used to compose stuff. But even like Hawaiian music, if people want to get into Hawaiian, like they can play the chords, they can kind of play it and sing it and stuff. But if you listen to like a Hawaiian record, may it be like Sunday Manoa or Brothers Casimiro or any of the big ones, it's got that sway to it that like is indescribable. It's so laid back, and this like the hula sway. Maybe we should kind of call it, but it's not necessarily a swing, but there's a certain laid backness to Hawaiian music that like
there's like a lag, and then it's kind of like waves flowing, right?
And there's a rush and there's a lag.
There's a rush and a lag.
You can really only feel it if you play with some somebody who's played for halal for a long time, or or any of that, and because they don't think about the theory or the counts even. It's just their own thing. It's kind of
feel it out, and then even original like rock and roll, like that term is based off of the movement that you make, right? Because like when you're dancing with a partner to like the original rock and roll music, you're rocking first, and then you roll to switch directions. So rock, roll, and so that's why it's rock and roll music.
Make sure that's right, or else you have to offer an apology next week.
Allegedly. I'm just gonna say that. Jim will probably correct me in the chat.
Next week, Aaron will have to be in front of the camera and he'll be making the sad
I'm
face.
sorry. Yeah.
I made such a big mistake.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead. Other questions?
No, there's not any questions from the chat, and I think that was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. We did have a student review. Let's talk about the student review, Wesley, and he submitted another student review. He's his greatest hits have been like classical music, but this time he did War Is Over or something. Or no,
that Christmas
song by John Lennon. No, Paul McCartney. One of those
Happy
dudes.
Christmas.
Yeah, I'll listen to the Beatles. Like, who is that? Anyway. No, I do. It's a joke. Just let's okay before people start saying stuff. So Wesley, you you look like you're having fun. Let's just straight up right off the bat, look like you're having a blast. You're playing something that you're comfortable in playing, and I'm guessing you like the tune. Some kind of technical stuff that that I do want to comment on. You can finger pick it. You don't have to like anchor your pinky or whatever. If that's what you want to do, that's how you're gonna do it. You look like you're having a blast, like doing it that way. It's totally fine. You're getting the notes. That's really all that matters. Make sure that you keep it nice and clean on the left side, because especially when you're doing bar chords, because it seems like there is still a little bit of muting, that was going on the left hand. I don't know if that's like nerves too, because you seem a little bit nervous, but you did look like you're having fun, and the strum. Once again, if you like to kind of strum that way, you're all good. But then make sure, if you do want to work on it, get the twist, because you're not necessarily twisting your wrist. You're doing this thing where you're kind of playing
extending.
Yeah. And it just like, it seems like you're kind of, it's twisting your wrist, but it's just really a twist to here, and then you're going down like this. So that's kind of what it looks like. Okay. But instead, you should kind of, twist the wrist and point to yourself. Like the thumb should go all the way up here. I didn't, in the video, your thumb maybe went as far as here, pointing that way. So you're not getting the full twist on that up strum, because for the up strum, at the ending of my up strum is right here. So see where my pointer finger is? My thumb is already kind of pointed that way, So if your thumb made it here, so technically if you were doing it like kind of how we taught it with the twist, you would only reach up to the E string, but what you did was kind of did this and then went back down like that. So that's why, like, it's fine, but later on you're gonna want to twist your wrist to get different rhythms and really separating those nice and clean, because this is not as consistent as this, because this is going to be a pendulum, because we're going for up and then down, but here you're kind of going at a halfway point and then going back down. So it's kind of like a pendulum going maybe halfway and then going straight back, instead of making the full round and using the swing. So it's like using the swing of your wrist and the natural kind of movement, but instead you're doing this, and it's relying on on your hand going like up and down this way, and not relying on a natural swing of your wrist instead. But like I said, totally fine. If it works for you, then that's all good. But for the most part, there's there are ways so that it can be a lot more consistent. But if you're playing for fun, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
most people are playing for themselves at home these days. So
yeah,
as long as you're making music, and expressing yourself. That's probably the most important part,
right?
Right now, people expressing themselves,
especially
in a
with that
way.
song. Like it's that's good. That's good.
Yeah. It was John Lennon.
It was John Lennon. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Paul McCartney was that. Was it Wonderful Christmas Time? The one that you don't like.
But
it's just the worst. It's that and Hello Goodbye. Those two songs. I mean, like, gosh, you guys have written some of the greatest songs of all time, and then you come up with those two songs.
Did you lose internet?
Oh yeah.
You did?
Oh, what happened? Are we still recording now? Should we just kind of? Should I just keep talking?
We're still recording.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously, those two songs. I mean, the people who brought us, like great songs have also brought us Hello Goodbye, which is a song about not contradictions, but like just opposites. You say goodbye and I say hello, hello, hello. You say goodbye and I say hello. Like that's seriously the whole song. Like that's the entire song. I'm like, what happened? And the thing is, it's super catchy. It's like a catchy song, but lyrics wise, it's like, guys, you could have done better than that.
Yeah.
Talk about food, maybe that works for some people.
Yeah, I like the Beatles, but like the people who say like, oh, every song from the Beatles is a hit, it's a banger. I'm like, I don't know. They had some that I'm kind of like, oh, I'll pass. I'll skip on that one. I'll go to the next one.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. We're gonna repeat this chorus 20 times right at the end, and you go crazy.
Isn't that version that I'm not sure. It's starting now.
Okay.
Isn't that version that Wesley played? Isn't that by like an arrangement by Yo-Yo Ma and Jake or something?
Maybe
For Yo-Yo Ma's Christmas album, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he did like a Christmas album, and it's like Christmas with Friends or something, and I think Jake was on it too. So
yeah, it's But I was kind of using the original as a reference. I didn't know that. No, I did know that, but I didn't think about it when I was watching Wesley's cover of it.
Yeah,
cool.
I was just saying that like if you want to listen to probably the version that's closer to what Wesley's playing, that's probably it. But yeah, I think so. Anyways, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a Jake fan, like just watch. And with anything, if you watch a lot of the technique that like these higher level players do, then you'll kind of understand and see why we always try to remind people to like twist the wrist and do all these things, like anchor your pinky or like and things like that, because you watch these like amazing players and there's reasons why to do it that way, but if you're having fun, that's more important. Really, that's more important. I don't want it to be like we're correcting you so much you stop having fun with it. Totally not the case. It's just that we see it and we have to kind of have to make a comment. Yeah. Right, Kahai?
Yeah, I also think that some people have a hard time learning things unless they go through like the whole process themselves. So there are like some people who need to, I don't know, there's not a wrong way to learn things, but there is definitely a less efficient way. And I see some people who they have to figure it out for themselves that, oh, this is less efficient and that's why I should be doing that. Before they're like fully convinced.
The reason why you would do that is so that you can do this other thing later.
Yeah, because I guess the reason why people don't learn that is because it's like, oh, it meets my needs for now, so I don't need to.
Which is fine.
Just totally cool.
Yeah, like I played the E chord with all 4 fingers for years. Just years until I was finally able to bend that ring finger enough to the point where it cleared the A string. Or like Wes Montgomery, like it's like, Joe, just go play with your thumb. He's like, oh, I just play with my thumb. I was like, why wouldn't you use a pick or your other fingers? Like, oh well, I want it to be quiet, so when I'm practicing, I'm using my thumb. And it works for me. And then I just got really good at that.
So you know what I mean? You're not about to tell that guy he's doing something, he's doing something wrong or whatever. So, but yeah, there we go. Kahai, questions from the audience? No.
Yeah, we had so Jim. I don't know.
I think he was just commenting.
What do you say now?
It's kind of
rock and roll. Correcting Aaron.
I don't know. It's kind of I kind of don't understand what he's trying to ask. So he said,
say it word for word.
Okay. So somebody earlier in the chat mentioned the upstrum and having trouble with it.
Yes.
So he said, Kevin mentioned the upstrum. So with a high G, there is not much difference in the chord when strummed up or down compared to a low G. Is it about the accent on the chord or within the chord, i.e. the top or bottom string, which in the high G is not the bottom string?
Like the lowest string
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
thinking.
I get what you're coming from, what you're trying to say and stuff. Is that it's more prominent? I would say that it's more noticeable and more prominent in low G because obviously it's gonna be a low note on the way way down as it is on the way up, and it doesn't really make too much of a difference if you're staying down here with your with your chords. But once you get up up the strings, it really makes a difference. As a high G player myself, if I'm gonna play something like guava jam, for example, like if I'm doing that and if I'm strumming, I need to make sure that it's that that kind of up strum or down strum where I'm avoiding the top string, because I really want that melody line to come out. Whereas if I did mostly down strums, so you're hearing that, whereas where I'm really trying to just do the down strums on the last two strings instead of the full down strum, because I'm trying to avoid this. I will do the same thing with the low G if I'm playing, that song. Or if I'm, playing, I made an arrangement called Schizophrenic Snowflakes back in my first album, and it goes like, and that's all the the melody lines on the A string, whereas I'm droning the G up here. If I strum down full with the G in mind, then it really wouldn't have that same effect. Would sound like this. Where I just want this to drone, but I want the notes to come out. So I'm going to be playing those notes and skipping the top string. So it goes like this. So I'm only really hitting the G in between the melody line notes. So it goes. That's what I want to hear. Is that on the E string? So it goes like this. So it gets more prominent as you go up here, whereas because it's a high G, and we use this a lot for ghost notes, and it makes chords like playing D. I don't have to play the full D up here. If I had the low G in there, I don't got to worry about it. I can just kind of play this, And if I did the down strum with with that G in mind, then it's really gonna stick out like a sore thumb. But doing the up strum makes a big difference than doing it with the down strum. You hear it? Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't know if it's some kind of like low G is better, that kind of question, because you have this difference between the down and the up. It's they both have their advantages and disadvantages, because if I were to play low G, I wouldn't be too comfortable playing up here, because that low G is going to be like blaring,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just you just have to be aware of what you're playing and within the song what chords you're playing, and then adjust accordingly based on whether you're playing low or high G.
I think people try techniques like this too, and they worry so much about missing one string, or like, oh, I can't hit that string, that like you can kind of hear it in their playing. They're worrying more about that. And with this type of technique, or even like we filmed the solo, and then you showed like, oh, these are the main notes you want to hit, but then when you're playing it, you would often hit like the E and the A string, when the melody is on the A string. A lot of times with these techniques, like you're gonna try and aim for like hitting one string, or like really highlighting one string, but you're not always gonna get it, and you're gonna hit like 2 or 3 strings. And being comfortable with like hitting it and then moving on is like a big part of the technique too. Is like, this technique isn't necessarily supposed to be like, oh, you're playing super clean. It's like you're getting as much, you're trying to be as good as you can, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not always gonna, miss the G string, or you're not always gonna hit the strings that you want every single time. So
Yeah. It's and it always comes back to like, does it sound okay?
Yeah,
Because if it sounds all right, then you could do all the wrong things, and as long as it comes off sounding okay, then you can keep doing that stuff, and then once you get to the point where it's like, oh well, that one didn't sound good, then you change up your whatever you're doing, your technique or whatever it is.
Yeah. I bet if you asked like professional players to look at themselves playing live or whatever, they could point out all the things like of themselves that like, oh, I didn't like how I played this part, or this part wasn't as clean as it could be. But then you as a listener probably listening, you probably like, I didn't notice that. Like I didn't pick it out. So yeah.
And more so now, like with some of the newer stuff that I'm writing, I'm really considering the high G in there, like and because maybe not last year, but this this past year, I was working on some campanelas in my spare time, in my free time, and now like I'm kind of writing some music that's not based on it, but utilizing that technique when I can, because I have the high G. Back then I was just kind of using it as a drone, not really having too much of a use other than like with pull-offs and stuff, and being comfortable up the neck. But now they're actually being put into my melody lines, which is I'm really stoked about. But not I'm not saying that you can't do that with the low G. You definitely can use the low G in your melody lines, which I do. I think the last songwriting challenge that we did, I used that low G a lot, and that's why I think I brought my my other ukulele just to play that one tune. So really, it's apples and oranges,
Yeah. And people who say like, oh, this is better, or this is like,
see, I can do this, and you can't with that. Yeah, so that's not the mentality. It should just be like, well, there's some things that I can do on this, and there's some things that I can do on that.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can think of it as two different instruments almost. It's the same, but it's like sound wise and approach as a as a writer and as a singer, even like it's going to be two different two different instruments.
I think
there's like a hammer and a ball peen hammer.
It's like more
use it for different things.
There's like a specified purpose to use it for. That's why like the guitar collectors, like people ask them like, oh, why do you have so much guitars? And if they're a player,
why do you ask so much questions?
Yeah, get off my back. But like I've heard like guitar players / collectors say like, well, each guitar lets me play differently, and it kind of forces me to play differently. Each guitar has a quirk that lets, like, it's like, oh, with this guitar, I don't really want to play like this anymore. I want to play more of like a bluesy style, or I want to play more of this style.
Yeah, so, the instrument, like if you're well versed in different types of music, the instrument kind of draws out almost, right? Like you hear it, you play it, and you hear it, and it's like, oh, and then you just feel like playing different, like a different type of music on a certain type of instrument.
And I think the more experienced you are, and then the more you have experience with other instruments, like you go into a music shop and you see other instruments, or you get to play other ukuleles and stuff, you'll get that feeling. You'll find out like, oh yeah, like this ukulele, like kind of want it because it makes me play like this, this certain way, or it invokes this feeling within me that I don't have with all my other ukuleles, So it's totally understand, like, that's why people have UAS, like, yeah.
But I play this song sounds so much better on this uke.
Well, that's one reason why some people have UAS. There are other reasons, but
I mean, and then there are guitar collectors who aren't players, right? Who just have guitars, and they're just like, I just like how they look. So I have some of the most expensive guitars in the world, and I put them in a case. It's like, oh, that guitar should be played. Please play that guitar. But everybody's different.
Open the case and play it. Take it out of the case, please.
It's crying. Can't you hear it?
Yeah. My I think I've talked about my friend Jason and how his dad, BB, He's one of the guys who play around here with the blonde boys and stuff. And he's got like Gibsons from like the 60s and 70s, but he plays them all.
He does play
he
them,
does play them all. It was like, so it's not one of those like, oh, like, look, I've been crying since the 60s, I haven't been playing, but it's like
he does play them.
He does play it, but that's not what he reaches for. He reaches for this what is that one, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a guitar that you like flip the switch and it's like a bunch of different effects. Like you flip the switch and it's like low D, you know,
oh,
like,
really?
like it drop D and then you flip the switch again, something like that.
That's not the robot guitar from Gibson that changes the tuning?
No. It's like this knob that you just like you turn it and then it adds like, you know, effects to your guitar.
Really?
It's pretty cool.
MIDI guitar?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't jammed with him in a long time, but that's like what he grabs all the time. Because, and that's what he gigs with. Because I guess like if he's gonna, you know, play a show, like a 2-hour show.
It's all guitars in one
stuff. Yeah. He has chorus and it doesn't have to carry pedals or
interesting.
Whatnot. So that's the one he reaches for.
Now Kahai is gonna have to find it and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, because I was like, you know, I went to go jam with him, and it was a long time ago, and I just got my Telecaster, and I wanted to kind of like show him, like, hey, I got this awesome Telecaster, because I'm a big fan of Beck, not the band, the anime, because we're cool here. No one's so because we're cool. Yeah, and the main guy in Beck plays a white Stratocaster or yellow Stratocaster. So not Telecaster, it's not Telecaster, a yellow. Sorry. But you keep master, son.
Gosh.
Well, you're gonna tell me that he doesn't play an SG or a Jazz Master. Oh gosh.
Well, he also plays a Falcon, you know, in the show. But anyway, that's irrelevant. I brought it, and you know, I was just kind of staring at his like. It's almost like a stable of guitars. You know, he's got one of those like big, like long guitar racks that he just like puts down and stuff. Yeah. And I'm just like so envious. And I'm like, let's jam. And I thought he was gonna reach for like the 50s or like the 60s Gibson, because that's, you know, that's what I would reach for.
Yeah.
Right? If he's like, okay, let's go jam, pick one of the guitars, I'd go for that. But no, he went for this like kind of newer like.
You don't remember what it looked like or what brand?
I don't. It looked like, it's not an Ibanez, but it's kind of that style.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a Tele with like the smooth, you know, with the smooth body, or not Tele, but Stratocaster with the smooth body. It's kind of got harder edges.
Yeah,
to it. I don't know what it's called.
Like more of one of those like rock guitars or modern.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like guitars. Modern style guitars, and and it was just like. Can I pick up the 50s?
If
like
you're not gonna play it, then
if you're not gonna play it, I'd like to play that Les Paul. That Les Paul's like $30,000 or $40,000 or something ridiculous.
Did you see the original? There's like a video that what is his name? Rob Scallon did on the original Les Paul.
No.
And the original Les Paul, I think Les Paul made it out of timber from train yard. So it was just it wasn't in the shape of a guitar. It was just like a long stick.
That's crazy.
With the pickups in them.
Yeah.
And they said that they're playing it. And I want to say they called it like, or they called it, he's like scrapwood guitar or something. So he made that, and he made that before anybody else made like electric guitars. He had that, and he was playing around with it. And then it was only when Fender came out with their first electric guitars that Gibson was like, okay, call Les Paul back and tell him to bring, because he was like adamant about like, I want to make this electric guitar for you guys. And they were like, no, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody plays those types of guitars. Everybody's playing this. And he's like, no, I swear people are going to want to play this. And it was only when Fender, like, they're like, oh, we'll make an electric guitar. They didn't take his design. They're just like, well, we'll make one then.
They did their
own. Then Gibson was like, okay, call him back. I guess we got to do it.
The first is the Nocaster, like that first Fender that they put out.
Because apparently Fender and Les Paul were friends. Like all like, and there's somebody else too. They were all friends. And Les Paul, like, he showed it to them and he's like, guys, check this out.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, that's really weird. But then Fender, like, that's weird, but I can make something like that, you know.
Yeah, he is a great musician, Les Paul, but then he was an even better like electrician, like, or just a guy who was into pickups and creating stuff like that. You know,
he wasn't like a trained electrician. Yeah,
No,
he
no.
just like he took things and he was like, I want this. Can you guys like put it together for me? They're like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
As you may have noticed a black jar in the background here. So I did share my turkey recipe 2 weeks ago when I was not sleeping, like on the Thursday. Now, this is the prize. So because I lost about a week of my life, we're going to extend the songwriting challenge for one more week. I know we're supposed to like show our songs this week, but I wasn't even aware of anything until just a few days ago. So now this is going to be the prize for people who send in their submissions. So this is the one that I was talking about last time that I was here. This is the Lilikoi butter. Let's do a close up on this awesome piece of sweet Lilikoi butter. So this is Lilikoi butter. This is what I use for the turkey recipe that I do. So if you mix this, if you hook your turkey and right at the end, just slather some of this on there and just kind of let it caramelize over. You get a nice Lilikoi butter coating to your turkey, and then the drippings from that you can take that kind of sweet salty drippings and add it to a one of those McCormick gravy, like instant gravies, and it's bomb. It's pretty bomb.
Should
or however
you want to make it, or if you have your own gravy recipe or whatever, add. Or if you don't want to use this to make a turkey, you can just put this on some toast, and it's ridiculous. This is gonna change someone's life. I was just saying before the show started. I'm very excited, and we're gonna give this away to somebody who writes a song for this upcoming songwriting challenge that we have. Kahai, remind us what that challenge was.
It was to write a song based off of Thankful Jive Turkey.
Thankful Jive Turkey.
So but like next week we'll bring in our songs, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then the following week is actually Thanksgiving, so we probably won't be here. So should we say that the deadline for them, and we'll pick a winner on December 3rd?
Sure.
Yeah, and that'll give them plenty of time.
Yeah. Okay. So, maybe not for this year. This expires in March. But if you want to make any kind of roast whatever thing, you can always use this, or just put it on some bread. It's amazing. It's good stuff. Or if, you're roasting a chicken or anything like that, this Lilikoi butter. I know we mentioned like anti-Lilikoi, but this is the one. This is the Rolls Royce of Lilikoi butter. All right. So we're going to give this away to and how we give this away is if you submit a song for the songwriting challenge. We take all the people who submitted a song, and we pick a random person from that, and that's who we send that to. That's really it. All you got to do is write a song. It doesn't have to be like the best of the bunch or whatever. It's just we just like people submitting stuff. So write your song, submit it to us, and you're entered to win that awesome piece of jar. It's great though. I should have bought two. I don't have one in my house right now. It is, that is.
I think I also found, like, when we mentioned that, I linked to anti-Lilikoi, but I think I also found that brand too. So if
it's Liko Lehua. It's made in Hawaii. It's in the Big Island, so it's legit. So if you guys go to likolehua.com, that's where you can find this. But
I think you can even find it on Amazon, but it's just like a little bit more pricey. So
I bet.
Yeah. But
yeah,
if you want to try
stuff. Yeah.
I was saying on the week that we mentioned that that actually my favorite Lilikoi thing is Lilikoi mustard, and that's from anti-Lilikoi, and that is like almost good with any sandwich, I think.
They use that on puka dogs.
Oh yeah.
So puka dogs here on Kauai.
I think Rob was asking about that because he actually got to try puka dogs.
When he was here.
Right on. So bam. liqueur butter.
Yeah.
So good. I want it.
We have another question in the chat.
Sure.
So Angie asks, how long did it take for your ring middle finger to bend back enough to play the E chord with 2 fingers?
Not
for me, it was years.
Yeah, not
That's
right
what
away.
I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, I'm not going to make like, oh, I just put my thing there. Just no, like it took a long time too. So don't be discouraged if you're not getting it right away. It's a very much a muscle memory thing. You kind of have to train your fingers to bend that way. I don't know the exact amount of time that I took. I know it was a while because I didn't even know what an E was until at least my second year of playing ukulele.
Yeah.
Because we don't necessarily play keys that would be an E, or maybe that's why we didn't have songs that was an E, because not everyone could play E on the ukulele. But I think we mentioned last week or the week before, or the last time or the time before that, we used to have these binders full of like printed out music from the internet, and that's kind of our like ukulele fake book that we used to pass around. And maybe not none, but not a lot of those songs were an E or had the E chord in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really rare. So I don't even think I did it in my second year of playing ukulele. So don't feel bad. But if you do need some advice on E, my best advice, and what I've found to be useful advice, is to take the first knuckle on your finger. See that knuckle right there? And see if you can aim that on the E string. Because if you aim that knuckle on the E string and using that knuckle to hold down that string, your finger naturally, can naturally make way. Let's see here. Let me put it right there. My pointer finger out. There. So if you just kind of bend it a little bit, it'll naturally make way for that A string to be okay. So if you get that knuckle on the E string, it's a tough angle for me to show. Oh yeah, there. So that E right there. Well, so if you aim that knuckle on the E string and just kind of slap bracelet your way on the C and G string. So like how slap bracelets, they kind of like wrap around like this. That's what it's gonna do. So you're gonna use that knuckle, and that top part of your finger is just gonna like kind of wrap to go on your G and C strings on the 4th fret. Okay, and then lift up. So instead of lifting up, well, you want to think about taking your wrist and moving it forward a little bit. Okay, as you plant that knuckle on the E string 4th fret, move your wrist forward. Because if you move your wrist forward with that knuckle down, that naturally lifts that up. Okay, so you don't have to think about your ring finger as its own thing and you're just lifting just that. Maybe your fingers are not used to doing that quite yet. It will, as you do it and as the finger remembers the muscle memory to do that. Now, just bar with the pointer finger on the 2nd fret, and you should be all good. Okay, not saying that it's like that's it. It's easy. Everybody can just whatever.
Yeah.
Just follow these steps and you'll do it. It'll take some time. The more you work on it, the better it'll get. And if you train your fingers to do it, it'll get there.
That's another technique where you shouldn't try and aim for like the cleanest E chord when you're starting off. Like when you start off, you're probably gonna mute that A string, and that's like just play. If you can play the G C E string with E,
yeah,
like nobody's gonna notice you muting the A string. Like if you're playing along to a song or you're playing along to a big group, nobody's gonna call out and be like, "Hey, I hear you're muting the A string. You gotta." I can really tell. It's like no, it's and like if we're being honest, like when I play guitar, that E chord on guitar is like a B chord or an A chord. And I think for most songs that I play with an A chord, like I tried to play the chord correct, but I'm more worried about like what chord's coming up or like my being able to play the whole song by playing that. So I don't really care if I'm muting 1 or 2 strings for a song. Like it's more important to me that I can play the whole song through then it's like, oh, am I really playing this chord as cleanly as I can? Because when you're playing whole chords, nobody really pays attention. If you're like strumming whole chords, nobody's like really calling out one or two strings.
And like through the private lessons, I've seen, you know, like people were having a hard time with the bar chord, because you gotta get the bar chord down before you can get that E. And a lot of people tend to have their wrists like, you know, in front, and they have this bad bend. Oh, yeah, there it is. There's bad bend on the wrist. If you have this bad bend on your wrist, and you know, I've been playing for years, and I can't even get that, you know, that B minor down like correctly with my wrist this way. My wrist is always straight here. And once again, I'm going to use the slap bracelet thing. You know, I'm using the big knuckle, so the second knuckle of my pointer finger, and then putting that down here. And I'm letting the slap bracelet just kind of wrap around into that chord. And notice that my wrist is nice and straight, because if it was not straight, if it was this, then just like how we did with the E, you know, with the E chord, it's going to lift up on that A string. So because you have your wrist kind of this way, it's letting go on the grip on the A string. That's how you get that noise. So if you're playing your bar chord and you're not quite hearing the A string, it's because your your hand is a little bit forward. So bring that hand back, and or wrist, bring that wrist back, and let the focus on the bottom. So don't focus on the bar going from top to bottom, going like this. Do from the bottom up, because the bottom is the hardest string to get correct than it is the top. The top is not too bad, you know. And another thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people like doing it too high. So if you have your finger all the way up here, while it works, it's not the best way to hold that, because the big kind of fleshy part right here underneath the big knuckle you'll run into some muting problems with that as well. So use the knuckle. So I'm gonna make an indentation on my finger so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There it is. So the right there is the indentation on my finger. So right there. So that's where the string should be. This is my knuckle. It's right there, and it wraps around, gets up top there.
Yeah. Something that like we were talking to one student in the one-on-one coaching, and he was like pinching the chord, and he was like really pinching, and he was saying like, well, I can get it to sound good when I pinch, but when I offset my thumb, it doesn't sound good. I think what people don't realize is they think pinching is like a effective use of the force of their hand, but if you really think about it, like when you pinch something, you're only putting pressure right here and here.
Yeah.
But if you offset it, it's more of like a seesaw, and you're applying pressure to both sides to really like, it's almost like you're trying to turn the whole neck of the ukulele.
Yeah.
And like if you like, even if you just hold it up by like barring, and you hold it with your thumb in the back and kind of offset, it'll actually make the ukulele like tilt towards you instead of just standing straight up and down. Like,
so by doing that, the body is pressing more into you, right? The body of the ukulele is pressing more into you.
Like if you just held it up like completely just by that, like you can actually physically see like the ukulele, like it will not be straight up and down. It'll be tilted towards you. It should be like, yeah.
There you go, tilted. So now, that's another thing too. Like if you're holding, it goes back into the fundamentals of holding your ukulele. If you're holding your ukulele correct, there should be kind of like this forward, movement on your uke. Naturally wants to go forward. You don't have to pinch it so that you get that bar chord. I can get a bar chord by just placing my pointer finger here and using my right forearm as a counterbalance to bring it back here. I'm getting a nice clean, same thing. Here's my big knuckle. I'm putting it underneath the little bit lower than the fretboard itself. It's not on the fretboard. Just make sure this is not on the fretboard. I'm using that. My thumb is back here. As you can see, it's not supporting it. and still getting a nice clean sound from that bar. So this doesn't have to be what you're using to hold that chord in place or to get a grip on that chord. You don't need your thumb. Your thumb is just there to keep it stable, really, but your thumb is not the pressure. It's your pointer finger kind of pushing it back, and you're not putting too much pressure that you're pushing it all the way back here. It's just enough pressure to put it into place. So I still have that triangle that we talked about in holding your ukulele. So the triangle here, my left forearm, my body, and my ukulele, it's got that nice triangle still. Get up, stand up for you right. So I can even just like let go and then put it down like without using the thumb. But using the thumb, just make sure that it's nice and consistent and stable.
Yeah, like if you're playing that song again with your thumb, that B minor chord would probably sound a lot cleaner, right? Mm-hmm. But even now you're playing it like with just your pointer finger and you're getting by. So I think the wrong preconception that people have is like, I have to master chords before I can play the songs with the chords in them. It's like, no, you can do both at the same time. Play the song and play the chord as best as you can. But if you're messing up on like 1 or 2 strings or even 3 strings, if you can only get 1 string, it's like the more you play the song, the better you'll get at holding those chords.
Yeah.
So don't let it hold you back from being like, oh, but I can't play the song because I can't play bar chords. It's
or one of the chords in the song, just play it.
Play all the chords that you can, and then the chords that are giving you a hard time, by playing that song with that chord and trying to hold the chord the way it shows, you'll get better at it. Even if it's a hard chord to hold.
Even if things are muffled already or something, you can just try it. It'll get better.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people do, right? And it's like you play a chord, it gives you a hard time, and you're like, I can only really hear like 1 string. But then a week later, it's like, well, I'm getting like 2 strings, and then it'll be like 3
2 out of the 4,
and then it'll be like, I can. Before you know it, it's like, I don't know. I don't really feel like people are like, wow, this is a breakthrough. I made a breakthrough with like figuring out how to hold the E chord in 1 day. It's like, no, it just takes time, and your body gets used to it, and you figure out how to kind of curve your body to be able to hold those shapes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, one day you'll be like, this E chord, it's sounding pretty good. And it sounds like that A string isn't muffled. Yeah. Like, I think I'm doing it right. It won't be like just you spend 1 day and you get it immediately.
Yeah, I think that's like definitely on target, because when I say that it took me like years in order to hold an E chord, like I think I could do it like some of the time, but I was never confident enough to actually like play in front of people and like I make sure that I was gonna land it every time that I had to. So I just like defaulted to the 4-finger method. But at some point I made that transition where like, oh, I could do it, because it makes going to the next chord easier. So I'll like, I can do it now pretty consistently, and so I was able to do it in front of people.
Do you still do the 4-finger?
Sometimes, if it benefits, going to the next chord,
then
I will.
That's kind of what we were saying in the other week too, right? Like, just because you learn something new doesn't mean you have to throw away your old way of doing it.
Yeah,
you always have it in your back pocket. And I find that I'll play power chords like on songs that you might not call for power chords, but it's like
power chord it out.
Yeah,
just do it.
Why do you play power chords? It's like, well, I can play the full bar chord and I can play for 30 minutes, or I can play power chords and I can play for an extra hour. So it's like, I kind of want to take the extra hour to play.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, my last thing is, from all this stuff that we're talking about, really is just like, what is that one Hawaiian saying, Hawaiian ukulele or guitar saying, where you just press? What is that? How does that saying go?
I think it's like just hold it down. Or,
just like the old people.
Put your finger down. Something like that. Yeah.
Just put it down. Just hold it. I think it's called just hold it. Something about just pressing.
Yeah.
Just hold. I think that's it. Just hold it.
Yeah.
We'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Tomorrow we have Aloha Friday Live Jam. We're going back, back to our regularly scheduled programming. After this, we have one-on-one coaching. If you have not watched it, we do have a brand new lesson and play along available on our play along channel, and the lesson itself is available here on ukuleleunderground.com. If you're listening to this, thank you so much for downloading the Thursday live lesson. Check out ukuleleunderground.com and sign up for UU Plus to take your ukulele playing to the next level. November lessons are open, so if you want to sign up for private lessons in the month of November, it's totally open now. And on Mondays we go all the way up until 4 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. So I'm opening up like an hour later even. It was like 9 to 12, and then it became 9 to 3. Now it's 9 to 4 because it's like let's help out as much people as possible.
Yeah. So on Sunday, I think the solo is coming out.
Ooh,
it should be coming out.
Yes, I just got an email from somebody saying like, I really like the UU Plus solos. I don't know if you guys discontinued it. So for that person, bam, your wishes, Kahai's command.
Yeah.
And then
it was mainly because we couldn't film.
Yeah, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Couldn't get close and get personal.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you also want to talk about next week?
Next week there's no next week. Oh, okay. Next week on the 19th at 10 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time, I'm going to be on Ukulele Friends of Hawaii, or Ukulele Friends Hawaii. Check them out on Facebook. It's we talk about those guys here all the time, which is Brian Tolentino, Herbolta Jr., Jake Shimabukuro, Asa, from all those Kamaka dudes, all those and there's Kanina dudes. There's Craig Chi, that's on there. Brittany Paiva is on there as well. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. I'm trying. There's a lot of them, but it's awesome. It's a great thing. They do it, I believe, every Thursday or every Monday and Thursday. It just depends. This month they had Chris Fuchigami, that was on. I'm gonna be on there. It's gonna be fun. So this coming November 19th, 10 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time on their Facebook. So look up on Facebook, Ukulele Friends of Hawaii, and I will be chatting up with some of these amazing ukulele legends. So I'm super stoked, very excited, and I hope I don't, just embarrass myself. Because it's a totally different vibe. I listen to their podcasts and stuff, and they're like so informative. Whereas this us is like, oh yeah, so American Gladiators.
What? It's a real podcast.
With real information.
Not like the thing that you do.
Not the thing that we have to apologize for at the top of the show.
People want to know what guitars Koyuki played in back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. See, you can't find that kind of information at Ukulele Friends Hawaii, Only here will you know that there is a Japan exclusive of that yellow Telecaster that you can buy. It's sold out, but you can probably find it on Japanese eBay.
Gonna be on their podcast next week, and they're gonna be like, what are they talking about?
I know. I'm gonna start talking about Nicktoons, and they're like, what? Why are you, But
Spider-Man.
We'll see. Spider-Man. I should come with my mask. But it should be fun. It's gonna be good fun.
This is Miles Morales.
It's Miles Morales. I'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Aloha. Stick around for one-on-one coaching. Mahalo.